It's time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. I am Gino Buccola alongside Scott Shapiro. And Scott, I am pumped up, man. This is a great summer racing weekend. Action on both coasts. We've got graded stakes races at Saratoga. We've got graded stakes races at Del Mar. Grade 1 action on both coasts. It's really quality racing for us to preview this weekend.
Without question, I think we have pretty obviously the best card of the summer at thus far at Saratoga for the Whitney, and plenty of other graded stakes action on their agenda, including some more grade ones. You mentioned the Clement Hirsch, the return of Copian, try going long. So lots to get into this week in terms of gambling, but the Whitney definitely is the showcase.
So on our show, we're going to preview 3 Grade 1 races, the Whitney at Saratoga, the Fourstardave at Saratoga, and the Grade 1 Clement Hirsch out at Del Mar. But we want to remind all of you that on a busy Saturday like this one coming up, you need to check out and test out the DRF AI tool. It's brand new and it's perfect for someone who maybe isn't the most hardcore horse racing fan and you need a little bit of help with your handicapping. If you're a fan of like a particular jockey, you could ask it for all the jockey mounts, right? One thing I've been doing, Scott, is say, hey, I'm looking for some 10-1 shots that I think could be live in the pick 4. Can you put a few of them out there for me? And then I can see them and then take a second look at those horses. So this AI is great. It's really helpful for someone that's a new bettor. And I think a lot of the sports bettors out there watching this on SportsGrid would really enjoy it. Chat.drf.com is the website. But Scotty, we got a lot of ground to cover, my friend. Let's head on over and preview the Whitney, which is going to go as race number 11 on Saturday at Saratoga. It's $1 million race going 1 1/8 miles. We did find out, Scott, that trainer Todd Pletcher and owner Mike Rapoli own both Mindframe, and Todd Pletcher trains Mindframe and Fierceness. So same owner trainer of those two horses. They entered both Mindframe and Fierceness a few days ago, just in case something happened leading up. But as of now, when we sit here, it looks like Mindframe is not going to run on Saturday. That's big news, and that's very important because he would have been one of the major players in this race.
Without question, I think as a whole, I like him most of the Todd Pletcher brigade. No disrespect to the others. Was drawn down on the inside. It's going to be very interesting to see him face off against Fierceness. Maybe we'll see it one day, but it's not going to be on Saturday.
Skippy Longstocking is the next one up. He's the number 2. He's an 11-time winner who has earned $3.6 million in his career. He's really, really honest. But one thing I've kind of seen from him, Scott, most of his victories are when he is a short price. And I think that just shows that his trainer does a great job of spotting him. He picks out races for him that are soft and races where Skippy is going to be a major player, like this one that we're watching, Skippy Longstocking win the Grade 2 Gold Cup. I don't think he's ever won a race, though, where he's been higher than 9-2 odds. So it just kind of shows you he is, I don't want to say a bully, but he does take care of business when he's supposed to win those races.
No, he's been, perfectly managed by Safi Joseph and his team to earn over $3.6 million thus far with, like you said, out with that huge banner win, but just kind of taking what he gives them and then giving him shots, though, like this against the top tier. He hasn't taken advantage yet. The inside draw will be interesting. His hand might be forced a little bit early, but, you got to think that he at least has a chance to hit the board in here, although probably slight class level below the top couple.
I think they're still trying to look for his first Grade 1 win. Highland Falls next up. He's a Grade 1 winner. He's a little bit interesting in here, Scott. He's going to make his second start back as a 5-year-old now. He's pretty versatile. He's proven at Saratoga. Distance, no problem for him, as we've seen him win going 1.25 miles. And we're getting a look at his recent victory last time out that could probably set him up pretty well for this. Now, he will have to step up a little bit to compete with horses like Fierceness and Sierra Leone. White Barrio have all run better races than him, but it feels like this horse might still be moving in the right direction.
There is a chance for that. He clearly wants more ground, like you said. Good comeback race, going shorter than what he wanted to at Aqueduct on the 1-turn mile and just still dominating a field he should have dominated. I think he's up against it again from a class perspective. I put him in that same tier as Skippy Longstocking, but I think at this point he's got a little more upside than the other, or than Skippy Longstocking, because he hasn't really been beaten over and over by that tier.
The number 4 feels like a long shot in here. This is a New York bred stakes winner who just sort of feels like he's in here to show his early speed.
Yeah, it's tough to make any sort of case for Mama's Gold in this race. The New York bred will be involved early. You would assume if he breaks well, and the plan, for Romero Mirage has to be to go. But we'll see if he can hang on for any sort of slice.
Sierra Leone is the number 5. He's a grade 1 winner, the Breeders' Cup Classic winner from last year, and he really woke back up in the Stephen Foster. His year this year, Scott, hasn't been all that great up until the Stephen Foster. A little bit disappointing. He had some physical issues. He kept getting backed up when he was supposed to start, but that was sort of the Sierra Leone that we know, that comes with a big late closing kick last time out. And if they go fast early, I expect him to come running.
He will always come running in some capacity, but I think he's a dressed up horse. He never really was a big win candidate, even though it looks like it after the Kentucky Derby, other than the Breeders' Cup Classic. Sure, the biggest race of the year, but also the biggest setup for Sierra Leone of the year. His last couple of efforts, he has not moved forward as a 3-year-old or 3-year-old into his 4-year-old campaign, and he was never going by mind frame in that race.
No.
So at 2-1 on the morning line, I think Sierra Leone up against it from a win perspective.
I have him in more of the under spots as well. Disarm is a grade 3 winner. Back in 2023, he's 4th in the Kentucky Derby. He's 2nd in the Travers, and it feels like he's going to have a breakthrough year his next year as an older horse. And he just hasn't put it all together as an older horse now. He has a couple okay races, but just never really stepped forward off that 3-year-old form.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hall of Fame last week was a similar horse, a year younger, I believe, but always was supposed to be ready for that next big race. Disarm really has gotten, slower in his races. This
Yeah.
was a horse the barn was very high on. Steve Asmussen really wanted to push him towards the Derby as a 3-year-old, but I think a horse that really is going to need things to go his way to even hit the board against this kind of group.
What do we do with White Barrio, Scott? He is the Breeders' Cup Classic winner from a couple years ago. He won the Whitney a couple years ago as well in 2023. He had a really high speed rating in that race. So we know he's capable of big races when he's on his best. If he's a decent price, if he is in that 4-1 ish, 5-1 ish range, he might be an interesting value play in here because he is just a horse that can get the job done on his best days.
That's it. I think it's all key with price with White Barrio. If he's a significantly third price behind Fierceness, who we'll talk about in a moment, and Sierra Leone, I think he's a good bet. But you have to make that bet knowing that he could put in another clunker very easily. But he did win this race 2 years ago.
We move to contrary thinking. He is owned and trained by the same owner and trainer of Sierra Leone. It feels like he's in here, Scott, to be what they call a rabbit, to be a horse who goes to the lead early and sets the race up for Sierra Leone.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they need a rabbit in this race, but it should make sure they'll an honest pace without question. You're going to need to have contrary thinking, though, for sure, to use this horse on top.
Number 9 is Fierceness. And remember early in his career, Scott, where the knock against him was that he wasn't consistent. He would throw in a good race and then a bad race and then a good race and then a bad race. Now, all of a sudden, this multiple grade 1 winner has just become a model of consistency. Even when he doesn't win, he shows up with good performances. He was second best here in the Met Mile, and you just know that he's going to be involved early. I've grown to gain a lot of respect for this horse over the last year or so.
Right. It seemed like he really needed things his way in the past to be at his best. Didn't have him in the Derby, didn't have him that way in the Holy Bull. But we know he's the fastest horse in the race when he's at its best. Outside post, a key for Fierceness for sure in this one.
And we round things out with Post Time. This is a really cool horse, Scott. He has never been worse than third in his entire career of 18 races. He's a graded stakes winner, but I'm wondering, can he beat a group like this? Can he beat Sierra Leone, Fierceness, White Barrio all in the same race? I am not going to be shocked if he runs well in here. I might be a little if he can beat all of the big boys at the same time.
Especially going 2 turns at a mile and an eighth at Saratoga. Maybe at a 1-turn mile where I think that's his best game. But this barn keeps trying, and he is a super cool horse.
We finish things up and move to selections for the Whitney, a very strong race. Scott, you're going to go with the 7 on top. Talk us through your selections real quick.
Yeah, it's White Barrio, and it's all price dependent. I think Fierceness by far the likeliest winner of the race. But White Barrio, I expect to be a significantly higher price. And I just think he's the only horse in his current form that has the upside to beat what we've seen from Fierceness, who I think will run his best.
Completely agree with you. I threw in the 3 Highland Falls also as a price play. 3-7-9-5 for me. Don't go anywhere. Quick break, but we'll stay at Saratoga.
if I have to think long and hard about whether or not you're a Hall of Famer, you're not a Hall of Famer. I don't need to argue stats. I don't need to argue whether or not you are great. If Ichiro Suzuki is not a Hall of Famer, we don't need to have a baseball Hall of Fame. Like, just pack it up and shut it down, because that guy was as good of a hitter as we've ever seen. And he was unbelievable from the first time he stepped onto the field for the Mariners until the end.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
It's edge rushers. That's where it is right now. And I think Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. I think TJ Watt's right there. I think Micah Parsons is right there. Certainly, those guys are very, very good. Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. He just absolutely is. When the advanced stats about the double team rate, his quarterback pressure rate, all of that, he just stands a notch. I don't want to say a big gap, but he stands a notch ahead of those guys.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
He'll be your reserve, your extra guy here. Listen, we all need that. I say this all the time about outfielders. Most leagues, I don't know about your league, but we start 5 outfielders. Even if you're in a 10-team league, that's 50 outfielders. Plus you got some guys at utility. Plus you got some guys on reserve. 70 outfielders are gone. All right, so outfielders are extremely valuable here. And Moniak, if he's available, is a nice guy to pick up right now.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I feel they're all completely justified. The numbers, they're nearly identical. And speaking of identical, I don't know if you saw that one, Craig. That was pretty wild. From winning their first major to winning their 4th major, both Tiger Woods and Scottie Scheffler completed that task in exactly 1,197 days. Both of them, in the exact amount of days, won their 4th major.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Couple races before the Whitney on Saturday at Saratoga is the Grade 1 Fourstardave. This is a good race, Scott, for horses going a mile on the turf course. $750,000 up for grabs. I mean, it's a really strong field because even some of the horses that don't feel like top tier contenders, you could probably make a case for them. Like the number 1, for example, Gino. He certainly isn't as accomplished as some of the others in here, but he's going to be making just his 2nd start as a 4-year-old. He doesn't have a whole lot of bad races there. And if he has any improvement in him as an older horse, he's not that far off from competing with these top contenders. So it makes this a really tricky and competitive race.
It is. I think it's arguably the best turf race of the year here in the States.
Agreed.
And Cugino is a perfect example of why when I opened up the form, I started looking at Cugino. I'm like, man, I could really see this horse fitting perfectly in here. He's going to get a really good trip. IRAD's riding lights out. And as I just went along, he looks like he's just a little slower. That said, 2nd start of 4-year-old campaign, he could definitely break through for a career best.
And a horse like my boy Prince, he's multiple Grade 1 placed. My biggest issue right now with him, Scott, is that I liked when they cut him back to sprinting on the turf. And I thought that was actually a really good spot for him because he has some speed, but sprinting, he can finish a little bit. When they go longer, he seems pretty much like he wants to be on the lead. So I'm expecting him to probably be forwardly placed in here.
I think they got to go with this horse, just given, the rest of the field, the quality of the field. And I don't necessarily know if I think he's going to have things easy enough to beat them, but it's an ambitious spot. It's again, you pick and choose your spots. This is clearly a spot they've decided to take a chance, and I respect it.
Number 3, Johannes is one of the best turf milers in training. We just haven't seen him race so far this year. They are trying to set him up to peak in the Breeders' Cup. So this will be his first race of the year. But I will say, as a horse that's a short price, he's going to have to ship all the way to the East Coast, which is not an easy task, Scott. And he'll be making his first start in like 7 months. So a couple knocks on a horse who will be a short price, because I can't really knock much on the paper with this guy. Last year, he was fantastic. His only defeat was when he finished 2nd and he ran a great race in the Breeders' Cup.
I love this horse, so it's hard to be totally unbiased. I needed him in the Breeders' Cup, but it worked out well for him finishing 2nd that day. Mild bone bruising, clearly has not missed much training since he's come back, or he hasn't missed any. It's interesting. Tim Yakteen, 12 for 61 off a 180-plus day layoff over the last 5 years, 285 ROI, and this horse came off a near year layoff and won the American in one of his best races of his career, and at the time, clearly. So I don't know. I mean, I wanted to poke holes in him, and I don't think he's going to be a great bet, but a lot of things to like, even though he is coming off that long layoff.
The number 4 was the trickiest horse in this race for me, Scott, and really the Kelso race, because the Kelso had 3 horses in there, the top 3 finishers that are all pretty honest, and I wouldn't be shocked to see any of them run well in here. I'm just gonna have to try to treat one of the races like it wasn't as strong. So I'll personally hope that the Kelso wasn't as good. But wow, like if I'm playing pick 4s and pick 5s, Think Big is probably a horse who I want. He was a very good turf sprinter, and then they stretched him out and he won the Kelso last time out, proving that he can go a mile on the turf.
And didn't need the lead. I love the fact that a sprinter that didn't need the lead, or that wasn't even a sprinter that showed he could come off the pace, showed he could do it again. He was much the best. He had lost a bit of momentum in there. I think this is a real big spot for him. I didn't think the Kelso was a very, very strong field, but to do what he did is kind of against the odds, and I think he's got a big shot.
The 2 horses that he actually finished in front of are right next to him in this race. Win for the Money ran 3rd. He's actually a grade 1 winner. He's going to make his second start back after a 5-month break. He was a little bit wide early in that race. I think he ran okay. I'm just not sure if he's quite on the level with some of the top tier contenders, but I think he's going to run better in here. I could see him hit the board. I could see him being in the mix early on. I don't have many knocks, just not quite. I just don't like him quite as much as some others in here.
He was 3 wide into the first turn. I know a lot of sharp horse players liked him off the layoff last time. I expect him to at least be his morning line, if not slightly lower, because of the trip and second off the bench. For that reason, I think I'm against him as well, but wouldn't be surprised.
I played Intellect last time out, Scott. I thought he got a perfect trip, honestly. Like, he got the trip, he made the move, and he just got run down on the square by Think Big in that race.
Yeah, it's hard to make a case for him unless Think Big regresses and nobody else runs their race because of that. If he's his 5-1 morning line price, which we know to trust David, I think is an absolute toss.
Completely agree. We move to Spirit of St. Louis. He's a multiple grade 1 winner, and he's been one of the best turf route horses this year in the U.S. He has a couple really big wins. The Pegasus World Cup and the Turf Classic at Churchill in May are 2 of the more prestigious grass races, and he's got them both. He's an interesting price horse in here to me, Scott, just on a bounce back play, because he didn't really fire in the Manhattan, but he was favored in that race. It was on a good turf course that had some moisture in it, and the race was won by a gate-to-wire winner where there was no other pace and no other passing. So I think there might have been a couple excuses for him coming out of that race.
Yeah, he cuts back a furlong here for Chad. I prefer him over Intellect. He's got the better resume, in my opinion. Had a reason, he didn't get out of the gate all that well, and to your point, was totally against the race shape. So Spirit of St. Louis, not my top choice in here, but at 6-1 or higher, I think he's a must use.
Deterministic is the 8. He's a grade 1 winner and a multiple graded stakes winner. He's really benefited recently, Scott, from aggressive tactics. They've put him on the front end in longer races, and he's been able to get the lead and slow things down. We see him here winning the grade 1 Manhattan.
It's interesting. He's probably not going to make the lead, with the likelihood of my boy Prince being on the lead. Can he win from just off the pace? Yes. I think the last race was his race, but this is an interesting shot. Miguel Clement's been on fire.
The 2 horses to the outside, Langos and Neat, I kind of group them together because they come out of some of the similar races last year. Their speed ratings and figures are very similar, but they're both 0 for 4 on the year. And with the tough post, I could see them having to step up. I'm just not the biggest fan of really either of the outside horses in this spot. Scott, could you make a case for either Langos or Neat in here?
No, I think the combination of the posts and just being a slight tier below the rest of the field, or most of the field, makes them pretty easy tosses here, even though we're tossing short, big prices.
So we move to selections for this one. Scott, you're going to stack him up with the 4 Think Big, who's coming off of a nice win last time out.
Yeah, I was real under the top 2. It was tough for me, but I do think the 4 and the 3 stand out a little in here, and the better price was Think Big. I'm hoping he can make it 2 for 2 on the stretch out.
We got to go to Gino because he's got my name right in the name of his, right? CU Gino. He's basically talking to me, Scott. So I'll put Gino right on top with Johannes as the horse to beat. 1, 3, 7, 8 for me. Don't go anywhere. We head to Del Mar and talk Clement Hirsch next.
they lay over and die at the hands of the Minnesota Lynx, who beat them 109-78. The defense is a mess. The offense is a mess. The Vegas Aces, who I was so sold on, JY, bouncing back and being one of the absolute best teams in this league, are average at best.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Want to hear a crazy stat, guys, with this Pittsburgh Pirate team? I brought this up yesterday. Out of 106 games, they have been involved in 27 shutouts, 13-4, 14 against. Over 1 out of every 4 Pittsburgh Pirate games ends in a shutout. How crazy is that?
Total is 8 tonight.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
One big problem for NBC, too many on-air cooks for the coverage, particularly on the weekends. Having 4 on-air teams separate time, divide the time, was really outrageous. You had Mike Tirico and his partner. You had Dan Hicks, NBC Sports' lead golf commentator, and his partner. You had Steve Sampson, Golf Channel, and his partner. And you had Terry Gann, who, by the way, if you don't know, is going to become an NBA play-by-play voice.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Just more and more smoke, leading to the fire that is Keegan Bradley being on this team as a player.
Yeah, I think we're all expecting it at this point. And, Keegan, he knows he can't play poorly in the playoffs. Like, he knows he needs to keep momentum going. And if he continues to play well, he's going to be on this team.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
For our final segment, we're going to head out west for a grade 1 for fillies and mares. It's the grade 1 Clement L. Hirsch. Remember, since Del Mar is the host of the Breeders' Cup, some of these big races at Del Mar are important prep races, Scott, for horses that get an opportunity to see if they like that track over there. And in this particular race, what makes it a little tricky to handicap, we have the 1 Seismic Beauty, who's a Bob Baffert trainee who wants to be on the lead. We've got the 4 Nothing Like You, who's a Bob Baffert trainee who wants to be sitting pretty close. The 5 Ricci is a Bob Baffert trainee who wants to be pretty close to it. So you have these 3 Baffert trainees who all want to be forward. As a handicapper, that makes it a little tricky sometimes to figure out how the race is going to set up.
It sure does. It makes this race very difficult. But what you probably want to assume is that they're not going to all duel each other into defeat at the very most, or at least however you want to look at it.
We start with Seismic Beauty, the number 1. She has won 2 races in a row, one of them a graded stakes race. And the key with her, Scott, all 3 of the races in her career, when she's cleared the field and gotten the lead, she's won, and she's won impressively. So she really does seem to pour it on when she can get the lead here. This is some video of her winning the Santa Margarita back in May.
It's hard to imagine her not needing the lead and wanting the lead. She was basically running off in this race that we're seeing now. She ended up putting a good performance together, but she's going to need to win this on the front end.
The number 2 Royal Spa is kind of an interesting shipper because this is a horse who had always teased of talent, but if you look at her speed figures, you can see she really stepped things up in the last 4 races, and she's put together some pretty good performances. She was second behind Torpedo Anna last time out. I think the real key for her, Scott, in this race will be tactics. Take her back. She was, she doesn't want to get caught up on the lead with some of these Baffert horses. If she can sit off the pace and pass some horses, I could see her at least running well, hitting the board in here. And if they go fast early, she might be one of the horses that takes advantage of that.
She should get a really good trip. I mean, there's going to be an honest pace. We know that. She's proven herself at 2 turns. I just wonder if her peak performance was the Shawnee. Torpedo Anna didn't get a huge number beating her. I don't know. Shipping cross country, 3rd off the layoff. We'll see if Royal Spa is good enough.
Mahina is the 3. She's been a turf horse for most of her career, Scott, but even recently she's 0 for her last 6 on the turf. She's hit the board in a couple graded stakes races, only 3 races on the dirt, and they were sprinting way back before she even broke her maiden.
Yeah, in 2023. It seems at this point this is just a shot maybe to hopefully sit back, hot pace, pick up the pieces, and get some fortunate black type.
Bob Baffert trains Nothing Like You. She's a multiple graded stakes winner. She has 4 wins in her career, and 3 of them have been monster victories where she's absolutely crushed the fields. But when she doesn't win, she doesn't really fire all that well. If you look at her last couple races, she's beaten 14 lengths, beaten 5 lengths, beaten 9 lengths. So she's not necessarily coming into this race, Scott, in the best form.
No, off the layoff for Bob. Obviously, he's throwing her to the wolves a little. I don't know what the other options were, but looks like a horse unless she really moves forward in that first start as a 4-year-old. That's kind of that next tier for Bob Baffert.
Number 5 is Rishi. I remember when she came into the U.S. for the first time, I was really excited for her. And I thought I was maybe a little disappointed off of her performance. But when you start to look at her entire body of work now in the U.S., Scott, she has improved on speed figures in each of her races. She's getting better and better. And it's getting better as she's stretching out and going a little bit longer. She's winning this race really nicely. It was just a small field, but she beat Splendora. And I don't really have many knocks on her. The more I look at her, the more I kind of warm up to her. And with her draw, I think she was probably a horse who can sit second or third here. I expect her to run a really good race on Saturday.
I think she is going to take the option of sitting just off the pace. One thing I wanted to say, last 5 years, Bob Baffert off a 60 to 120-day layoff, 14 for 39. This was with a top buyer, 14 for 39. 36% win rate, 301 ROI. So don't be worried about the break after that top number.
We move to Little Hidden Port, kind of a wild card. This one comes in from Argentina. We've seen this trainer, John Sadler, do a really nice job with horses that come into his barn that are imports. But this particular mare has not raced since December. So I'll be watching her. And if she runs well, then I'll play her back next time.
Yeah, maybe once a little bit longer, maybe does not. But like you said, I'm going to wait and see. Yeah, we might miss the real big price, but I don't see her winning this race.
We round out the field with Copian. She is a multiple grade 1 winner, but she's coming off a little bit of a disappointing effort when she was beat over at Los Alamitos. Now, Scott, she's been one of the better fillies in training this year, but most of her success has been sprinting. So she'll have to prove that she can go longer in this race and win at 1 mile and a 16th for the first time.
That's the problem. She's going to take a lot of money. She was awesome in the Derby City Distaff. I'm not holding the Great Lady M against her too much, but the price is what I'm holding against her. She's going to be on the far outside. She's going to have to relax from that post, and prove she can finish at 2 turns. It's a lot to ask at a relatively short price.
And as we move to selections, we remind you again this weekend, check out the DRF AI tool. You can see it right on the bottom of your screen or scan it right there with the QR code, chat.drf.com. One more look at selections for the Clement L. Hirsch. Scott throws the 5, Rishi on top, 5-7-2-1 for Scotty. I'm going to go 2-7-1-5, looking for a little value with Royal Spa. We'll be back here next week for the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview.
Joaquin Niemann wins for the 5th time on the Live Golf Tour. And I don't know how many starts they've had. Is it 9 at this point? Probably, maybe 10. So he's won half the time virtually.
He has, and this is again a stat. Sean Lowry is our guy who sends me live stats every week.
I love that you get live stats every week from.
It's so good.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Sadiq Bey come off the bench. Alvarado missed a lot of time. Jordan Hawkins has had his moments. So and remember, they picked out even a guy like Kamon Looney off the bench. So to me, they could be there. You know what? And it's crazy because last year I was so big on them, and now I'm off of them. But I'm going to say it. Fly Pelican. 7-1. Fly Pelican. Fly Pelican fly. 7-1. What's the...
Here's why JY is great, because sometimes I almost, it's tough when I sell JY, because now what will happen is, right? I mean, listen, it's the middle of the summer. You know what I mean? And what's going to happen in 2 months from now, JY's going to go, now listen, me and K-Dub love these Pelicans. I'm like, when did I say that? I don't remember that one.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
As I drafted Aaron Jones in my Dynasty League, but he's like my 4th running back, to let you know that people don't really believe in him. And by the way, when you play in a Dynasty League, I always play to win this year. I don't worry about next year. I want to win now. Flags fly forever. I'll worry about next year. So, but I got Aaron Jones last year, 11:38. So he's going to drop that down by almost 50% not to get this total here. Yeah, I think he gets. I'll take the over.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.